recording. And today is Tuesday, March 31st. Welcome to a Zoom with Jay McHugh at 12 noon. I wanted to begin by just setting some ideas of what we can do in this pandemic. Is that what they're calling it? Is that the word pandemic? Is that there's, in my opinion, it's going to get a lot worse than it gets better. And the reason for that is that when people don't get their paychecks this week, this month, they're going to start to really cut back on some income producing things that they may have done in the past, which maybe as much as going golfing or going on a boat or taking in a park or doing the activities that they were comfortably doing. They're going to have to cut back. That's going to be very difficult for many people. What we can do is not be part of that problem. We can listen, we can understand, we can recognize what we may need to do that and what we need to do out in the marketplace. So as a real estate agent, small business owner, professional, mortgage person, anything like we deal with people. And one of the things that I think is pretty crazy is that we have something called a phone, and we're all using it as a smartphone. You know, we have something called a backup phone. We're all using it, but we're not picking up the phone and calling people, right? And that might be difficult, but the human voice can take the pressure off when they hear you, see you for the first time in 6 months, and they just are connected with you. And we all have something we all know called send-out cards. We all have blogs. We all have this thing called Zoom. And we're sitting around and everybody's doing these things. My question is, will they be still doing these things when the pressure's off, say August 1st? That's when these Zoom calls, my coaching, my insight can help you, is that I want to help you build up that habit, build up that muscle of understanding that people count, numbers don't. And they coincide, the mindset and the habits. There's a great book out there, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and it's on Audible. It's also in book format, and it is strikingly obvious that this gentleman just did not let anybody keep him down and persevered no matter what the difficulty. And if you listen to it, or I recommend the listening because you hear a lot more bonus material, you hear his voice, you recognize that this guy went through some real tough shit, and he got through it because his mindset was in alignment of what he wanted to accomplish. Now, what does that mean for us on a smaller level? Again, we just found out one of our agents was diagnosed with the virus. I found out a personal friend of mine that I spent a number of summers with down in Cape Cod, 57 years of age. She's out in Massapequa, Long Island, New York. She just got diagnosed. Once you have your first close friend that becomes diagnosed, maybe you'll take it serious. Maybe you're already taking it seriously, and I applaud that. But I can tell you that until we wrap our hands around this, the best thing we can do is listen to the governor, listen to the president, stay the 6 feet or more away, limit your actions at the grocery store or even at your own office, and just be cognizant of helping others by helping yourself. Meaning, by you being in quarantine, you are helping the people that might be sicker right now than you are. If you become someone diagnosed with the coronavirus, we can all help each other by just listening to the governor, the president, the local officials, and having that distance away from everybody. And then you can help yourself by doing what we're doing right here, which is Zooming a call, picking up the phone, making a call to someone that needs that call, checking in on them, checking in on the businesses. I developed a local blog called Park Bench, and it's an amazing blog because it's specific to the local zip code area business owners. Instead of making it to the world when nobody really reads it, I'm specifically targeting the people that I can help or just bring some fresh air to, light them up a little bit, have a joke of the day. Go spend extra money at a local grocery store instead of going to the big box stores, things like that. And then tell others, right? Tell others what you're doing to help fulfill the hope and the happiness that we will all get through this. I don't listen to much talk radio, and it was on when I was dropping Ocean off. Ocean did her first Zoom today, which was awesome. She's Zooming with her friends. I was able to set it up, and someone texted me and said, Jay, it's pretty cool that Ocean has techie parents. Do you know how many kids don't have techie parents. And I don't think it was a slight, but I complimented it, said, thanks very much. And said, do you know how many parents can't feed their kids? And she's down in Florida, and she's a client of mine, friend of mine, but she's making it known to me that we are lucky. And back to my point, there was a gentleman who was arguing on sports radio this morning that, you know, Chris Sale went and got surgery, and he got surgery. They had to use a ventilator, they had to use masks, etc. And the argument was, did he really need to do that? And others are saying, well, he still needs to do that because he's employed by the Red Sox. The point is, there's a lot of discontentment out there. We don't need to be part of it, but you can decide how you want to participate in it. And I believe strongly participating in it is not to argue, it's to listen more, and then offer up positive suggestions. I wasn't going to pick up the phone and call and argue with Zoe and compliment Beetle, but as I'm listening to it, I'm saying there's two different perspectives, and they're making great points on both sides. But that's not the problem, and that's not the solution. The problem is still the virus. The solution is reminding folks what you can do is what you can do, which is staying the 6, 7, 8 feet away, consuming yourself with great information, whether it's a Zoom, whether it's a book, whether it's an audio book, whether it's a send out card, whether it's picking up the phone and just having a general conversation to someone who needs that. That's what we all can do. That's what we're empowering ourselves to be able to do, because that will be meaningful. My office today, I had to drop something off, and 47 agents are usually there. There was 2, myself and Stacy doing a video. No, and one more, John was there. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, what are all these people doing? I hope the rest of the 40 plus agents are home consuming some kind of good food, drink, known as a book, a webinar, an insight that they can then push out and deliver to their own audiences, because that's what the world needs. This thing too shall pass, as we know. Just be prepared that all the attorneys and all the mortgage brokers and all the real estate agents, they are going to be, you know, walking on eggshells for a period of time because their last deal didn't close and they can't pay. And I need an advance, Jay. And I'm preparing myself for that because I can see that happening. And then there might be a couple of deals that fall apart at the last minute because the buyer got remorse and they said, I'd rather lose my $15,000 than buy a $700,000 home. We're backing out of the deal. It's just too much yo-yoing roller coaster going up and down. Well, I'm preparing myself for that because it might just happen. But after you prepare yourself for that, you know, ask yourself, my great coach and mentor, Grant Cardone, ask yourself, what can you be doing today that you didn't even think possible a year ago? April 1st is right around the corner. What could you be doing today that will help you 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months? And my answer to you is to immerse yourself with the knowledge of learning how, 1, to do a Zoom, learning how, 2, to do a send out card, learning how to, 3, learn how to communicate with people, as Grant Cardone has taught me, because those are things that you will then hold in high regard over your competition just in a quick 3-6 months out. And strongly, I see it in some of our agents. We just had a big agent team leave, and I was telling Stacy, obviously they're focusing on that. They lost 3 listings and they're blaming it on Lair, or they're blaming it on somebody other than the person in the mirror. If they had studied harder, if they had become better negotiators, if they had become better objection handling technique folks, maybe they would not have lost, right? But they want to blame somebody other than themselves. Don't be that person that blames somebody other than yourself. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Some people are texting that they can't get on. That's not a problem. This is being recorded. I'll push it out. I'm going to be doing these more frequently. And what it is just a general talk with no selling, no promotion, nothing other than conversation pieces of saying, what are you doing, Jay, out there that you can do that you weren't doing before? As an example, I dropped off some beauty sheets to one of my new listings. The sellers are bummed out that they had to put it on this time when they didn't know what was going to happen, but I updated them. Just gave them some hope. Hey guys, I dropped off some new beauty sheets. The place looks fantastic. We're doing everything we can. I'm pushing out the information. There's no open houses. However, they can still schedule showings. I'll talk to you soon. And I got back a wonderful text, Jay. Thanks for being on top of this. I just gained a new listing where I was up against 9 other real estate brokers. And I consistently drove deep down into that particular seller decision maker. And I said, Brian, at the end of the day, I know I could be the best person that you could hire, but if it's going to fraction you and your family, then I certainly don't want to be part of that. But I know I'm going to do the best that you're looking for. Got the listing. Now, all those things are things that I studied because I knew this day may come. I knew this day that moving 50 miles away from my target area that I spent 25 plus years in would be challenging. Why would they want to list with you, Jay, when you're this far away? So I know technology. I know drone videoing. I know Tour Factory. I know send out cards. I know how to handle an objection because I'm anticipating that objection more and more and more because I see agents lose listings or buyers or confidence because they're just not practicing. And if you're not practicing, you're being left behind. This cannot be any better time than you have to hunker down publicly and privately, and just say to yourself, I'm shutting the TV off. I'm going to listen to this book. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to reach out to my friend Nate Jones. I'll give you, kudos to my friend Nate Jones. Nate Jones works for a great real estate organization. I don't know how he found me, but how he found me is probably because I'm visible. And we had a conversation and we just connected. And we politely said, well, I'm not interested in joining your franchise, but I'd love to introduce you to this thing called send out cards. And after a year, he's watching me and following me. He not only signs up and uses the system, he's now happy to share it with his potential agents, clients, friends, family, etc. Now, if I had given up and shut the door on him, he and I probably would never have met. Out of 7 billion people on this earth, it's easy to keep the door open and just listen and then offer solutions. And then if it's still not a match, I'll kindly just offer up. I keep you on my blog and keep you updated, and you do the same. And those are things that we can teach each other going forward. Because I know for a fact there's going to be a lot of real estate agents that get out of the business because it's just going to be too tough. There's going to be a lot of mortgage people that get out of the business because it's just too challenging. There's going to be a lot of people leave their small businesses because they're broke or they had to file bankruptcy. But guess what will happen? They'll resurface. While that might be happening, don't you be the part of the problem by having to resurface. Just charge up your battery. Just charge up that mindset that you can do more in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, in the next 24 months. Because for me, this is the greatest opportunity to really study my Grant Cardone University, to really understand Zoom and how to get this platform out to more people than ever before, to really grow my send out card business and continue to share and show people that not just giving hope, but a kind word unexpectedly in the form of a card is magnificent. And yet people still say, I don't care anymore. But if you go to your mailbox today, I guarantee you there'll be 60% less mail than there was just a week ago. You know why? Because what I call amateurs, amateur business owners, they're contracting, right or wrong. They're contracting because they have to save their money, which is fine. And while they're saving their money, they're losing what they may have built up. We have an opportunity, again, with the phone, which many people don't use, and with our send out card, unlimited subscription, we have the ability to connect with these people in a higher level never seen before. And I ask you, I'll leave you, this question today. Take my challenge, go to the mailbox over the next 3 to 4 days and count the pieces that you have received compared to just a month ago. And you'll start to see even the politicians have pulled back. And I don't want to hear people say, well, that's because Jay, it's not just because, it's because people who are contracting instead of expanding are missing out on a great opportunity. And expansion doesn't mean you foolishly just throw $50,000 at a billboard. What it means is that you expand your mindset. You expand that database. You expand your top producer, your ACT, your Sendogo, whatever database you might be using. You expand it in terms of being able to give great content, great insight, great direction, and let that funnel in later on in the next 6 months. More people will have a great second half, this coming second half, than they did last year. Now, I was telling a number of people that weren't we complaining the prices were too high and first-time homebuyers couldn't find anything in Brookline or Newton? And now that there's going to be a substantial 17 to 23% haircut, those buyers now can afford a house. I mean, you got to think about it. Are we talking in the negative to people? Oh, doom and gloom. Or are we looking at it and say, hey guys, this is a great haircut opportunity. Even you multifamily buyers. These multifamily, some of this is sitting on all equity, $570,000 for a house in Lowell for a two-family. That seems like top of the market. Well, it's all equity. That person is going to look at it and say, I just want to get out of Florida. I don't care if the market price is 400. Boom, that buyer, that investor picks up that two-family for 450,000 or 420,000. And the Dan Cappers or the Glens of the world are the ones that communicated that wonderful information that allowed that buyer to get settled into a house for a beautiful haircut than they would have if they had just sat on the sidelines, missed out on that opportunity, and then came back to Dan or Glenn and bought a house a year from now for 520,000. So these are just simple opportunities that no matter what business one might be in, is to realize how can you help our community? How can you help your database? Just picking up the phone and maybe sharing a quick Zoom call. I mean, my mother-in-law, I love my mother-in-law, but she's all nervous this morning. How is Ocean going to get on Zoom? And I love teaching people, and I went over there. I'm not a PC guy anymore. She had a beautiful PC, one of these touch things. And I said, I'm going to download the program. You don't need to do that, Jay. I said, I know I don't need to do that, but it'll make it easier every time you log on to Zoom. Then I changed the name instead of saying Mary Alcorn, so Ocean's classmates could see it's Ocean McHugh. Should have seen the smiles on their faces from Ocean to Mary to the teacher. And it was like, boom. I just changed three people's smiles from a frown to a smile because I know how to use Zoom. You all know how to use Zoom if you're on this call. Go teach someone how to do a Zoom call. We have an older gentleman in our group that was yelling at me. Not yelling at me, he was disappointed that he missed the Zoom meeting. I said, Ernie, a Zoom meeting is like a phone call nowadays. If you call me on a Zoom meeting and I don't answer, no big deal. And if I call you and you don't answer, no big deal. If we have a scheduled Zoom meeting and you're running a little bit late, of course I'd let you into the meeting. Oh, I didn't think about that, Jay. I said, the Zoom is going to replace the FaceTime or the Skype or the Google Hangouts or Log Me In and all this other stuff because it's the engineer who created all those other is the one who founded Zoom. If you knew that, did some research, you would have checked out his story. It's pretty fascinating because that's what I did. And what's the difference? Zoom is easier to use and to navigate, which means more people will move from Google Hangouts to Skype, from FaceTime to this thing called Zoom. Be the person that helps somebody get on Zoom, and then they'll be indebted to you for something called reciprocity, something called referrals, something called introduction, something called, hey, it's snowing and it's a blizzard out there. Let's do a Zoom call at 9 o'clock and talk about the Bruins game before they start up the season again. Those are all things that we can do. And as many of you know, we also can do, a snapshot, right? So thank you very much for being on this call. I can't get everybody, but now I just created a snapshot and I'll be able to send out a card saying, hey, thanks for participating in our Zoom today. Look forward to helping you in the future. Don't hesitate to call me privately if you want to do a one-on-one. Happy to get you started in any platform you're in. Would that be helpful? I was invited go-to meeting. Suzanne Calderi, a friend of ours in Rehoboth, Mass, doing mortgages in all over Massachusetts, but mostly Southern Mass and Rhode Island. She did a go-to meeting. And I was sharing with the group, my fan favorite, of course, is Zoom, but I walked them through how to do a reverse prospecting beauty sheet. And, they were, wow. And I just, did it on the screen and I explained it to them. And they were like, wow. Well, guess what? We all could be doing this, right? And whatever, we have Glenn, who's a master marketer in the local Lowell Sun space. And he can be reaching out to folks and saying, hey guys, let's do a Zoom. Or hey folks, how's business? Yeah, no problem. I hear you. I'm here if you need anything. Making those phone calls, 10xing that activity will get you to the promised land. Or sitting in a bucket with the other crabs is going to get you sitting in the bucket with the other crabs. And so this is an example of what we can be doing on a Tuesday, March 31st. Tomorrow's April 1st, whatever it's called, April Fool's Day. I don't think anybody wants to celebrate April Fool's Day. What we can do is put more smiles on people's faces. We have Easter and Passover. That's going to be obviously very challenging. Good Friday, Holy Thursday. It's going to be very challenging. We have Mother's Day coming up. It's going to be very challenging. We're going to have First Communions. We're going to have proms. We're going to have all these things that are going to be different when you were 16 or 17, 18, you were looking forward to, and you can't participate, and it's going to be heartbreaking. But you, bless you, but you as the adult, can sense something. I mean, now that we got some people that I see on here, I mean, I'm just going to stop and, look at Shauna. Shauna's one of my good students. We don't always agree on everything, which is the best part, is that she'd been sending out me some really uplifting cards that I had to show. I was in the office and I said, I'm bringing some of these cards home. St. Patrick's Day card or branding on the back. I mean, and she took the last Zoom, she did a screenshot, as I said. You know what happens when you tell people to do things? They nod their head and they don't do them, right? Well, this cat does it. This kitten does it. This person learned. I said learned. My daughter has some poor vocabulary that I'm listening to. Button. Anybody heard the word button? It's not a word, but people say bad words and I pick on them. So our friend Shauna learned how to put an awesome back of the card branding that's going to benefit her. It might not benefit her tomorrow, but I'm not throwing this card away. If I need to call her cell phone number, I got it right here. She looks like she's smiling. She's obviously something called green designated. If I'm interested in saving the world, am I going to call her and use her or ask her before I call someone who's non-green designated? And again, nodding the heads. I appreciate that. Thanks for the thumbs up, folks. These are little things that you can incorporate into your business immediately. When I speak to my clients and I'm trying to earn their business, I reference all the time? I reference the books that I'm reading because most times they're like, what? Tell me that again. You Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. Then they go Google it and they buy the book. And now they're on the same vibrational wavelength as myself. Thank you, Dala. Great tip. Dala didn't give me that tip of what I just said. She just coached me on being on the same vibrational plane as your audience. I can control that. And if I recommend to them that during this time, I recommend you get this book, You Can't Hurt Me, that's powerful. That's a gift. Now, just a little couple things. Nate, when you get a chance, I'll be happy to do, anybody can stop their video with the controls. If you had to take a pee break, or if you had to go get a vodka tonic, if you had to go smoke a cigar, and then you come back and you're back live and no one saw you taking a pee, no one saw you having a vodka tonic, and no one saw you smoking a cigar. I taught that to Dan Capper all the time because one time he was picking his nose and I said, Dan, just stop, pick your nose, and then come back. And it works great, Little tips that can make people smile, like Nate is smiling and Dan is, getting a little, I don't know who else is on the call. Hopefully we have Scotty B. Scotty B's down in the Fall River area. He's a crusher. He's a send-out card user. He spoke at our event last year, really nailed it out of the park. Shoots from the heart, former prison guard, doing tremendous business because he listens, he has exceptional follow-up skills, and then he executes like no other. Pretty simple. We don't have to be neurosurgeons, neuroscientists, astronauts to do this business. And this business isn't just real estate. It's not mortgages. It's not small business coaching. It's just being a human being. All right? People appreciate it. Jack Donahue has been on this call, and I think he's probably just listening. But that cat, he's in his 30s. He was running a huge attorney business in challenging times. He's taking out leases in challenging times because he's believing in his accomplishments, and he's going to 10x it by attracting the right people. Again, nice comments. We can leave the comments later. Some of it gets bounced in, some of it doesn't, but that's okay. I still love the comments. Now, for the next 20 minutes, I just wanted to open it up and ask any question that one might have. I really love doing Zoom calls because one gets us comfortable with the camera, and that's a benefit for you. Secondly, you're using a technology that we can save and re-record, edit, do all kinds of things. I'll give you a little tip, and then I'll shut up. But one of my competitors, he had me on his call last year, podcast. I'm shaking my head saying podcast. I mean, that's kind of amateur now, right? No, it's not amateur. It's just some people don't want to be video, right? Whatever reason. They got a sky right here because they had a little altercation up in New Hampshire, and others might have a big nose, and somebody might be insecure, so they do podcasts. Others will do video, right? Whatever. Well, this cat, he has this big video things, and he thinks I'm going to be nervous, and I walk in there and I crush it. And he's looking over at me. You've done this before, haven't you, Jay? Yeah, does a bear shit in the woods? I mean, cool, let's go. Couldn't get him on send-out cards, whatever. Stayed in touch with them, keep sending him cards. And yesterday he says, Jay, with your gift of technology, I just listed a $7.78 million home here in Newton. I give you free freedom to claim it, not as your own, but feel free to do whatever you want to market, and let's co-broke this thing. All right, there's a green light. Took his video, did my editing, put my video in, uploaded to YouTube, pushed it out. Didn't say it was mine, pushed it out. Here's our new listing in Newton, $7.88 million. Give me a call if you'd like a private showing. Now that wouldn't have happened if I didn't connect with James last October and then learn how to take that video, edit it, and then upload it. So I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna mute myself. Why not mute myself? I wanna hear a question from the audience. Feel free to be the first one to shut it out. Okay, I'll pick on Nate. Nate, welcome. Unmute yourself. Ask a question. Say hello. Nate's out of Austin, Texas. He's a great guy. And welcome on to our first Zoom call with you.
Thanks. Nice to be here. Can you hear me all right?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. I don't have, well, I guess as far as send out cards, the only question I would have is I've been sending out the open up cards where it's a picture on the front, a picture on the inside, and then text. And I noticed with the card that you send, you have your listing or a listing on the back or your contact info. I'm not sure how to set that whole back panel up.
No problem. I'll walk you through an awesome video that I'll do. You'll be amazed by it. Essentially, it's just changing the back and taking what is known as a JPEG. So if you have a listing beauty sheet that you would like, or you have a logo like Dan Capra, or right now, Shauna has a great, logo. We just create that as a JPEG. And then you can drop that JPEG into the back of the panel. You can also save it, or you can change it out as many times as you want. And certainly goes out great. So the people who are on this call that may know it, great. But the people who are new to it, just keep in mind, I don't want you to send a bereavement card to someone who passed away, and then you get your logo on the back of the card. We had one cat do that, and he was embarrassed because obviously it doesn't look good that you're sending a bereavement card. So sorry for your loss. And on the back, Nate Jones, the #1 real estate agent here in Austin, Texas, ready to sell your home. That wouldn't be appropriate. So those are the cool questions that I'll help you with. I'll do a video after we get off this, and it's pretty powerful. In addition, for those who are using send out cards, the resource center is fantastic. When I say resource center, there's a button that you can go to the resource center, put in that type of question, and up pops a Jay McHugh or a Gail Zentek or a Michelle from the home office that's going to answer the question more quickly. So you don't always have to wait for me. But I'm glad you segued into that subject, because here's something that I'm going to be strong. I'm under NDA. Our attorney at law on the call will tell you that's a non-disclosure agreement. That's highly important for me. Because if I can't shut my mouth, then you guys can never trust me with whatever you might say. And I hold that in high regard. So we have 10 minutes left. And what I can say that send out cards is going to explode over the next 30 days because of the technology they're bringing to the forefront. I would strongly suggest that you Zoom, call your clients, you check in on your older senior citizens, you throw gifts to the kids who are stuck at home, and you learn more about send-out cards. Because when this is launched in the next 30 days, you're going to be saying to yourself, okay, I know how to explain this. I know this is new. I can import it. I can implement it, and I'm ready to go show it to more people, as well as use it. Because I'll tell you, we're in a technology world, but we still need the human interaction, and Shauna and Dan and Glenn are awesome at that. Susan Day, I think, is listening out in Bozeman, Montana. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Jay. I wanted to make a comment too, if I might.
Sure.
So I've been using, this is Susan in Bozeman, and I've been using send out cards for 2 years. And Nate, I wanted to just share with you and anyone else that is kind of dipping their toe in the water that the send out cards right now has updated in their new cards some social distancing cards, and I've probably sent out about 50 of them in the last few days, where you can actually put a picture of a friend in the top left corner, and then the top right, a picture of you, and it says social distancing. And I've gotten so many phone calls from people just saying, thank you, Susan, that just brightened my day. There's one about hand washing. And I would say, if you're not sending 20 of these a day, try to amp it up a bit. And it's not that I'm promoting send out cards as much as I'm promoting human contact, because we're living in a time where there is little human contact, and these cards are brightening people's days. So I just wanted to add that, Jay, because I think there's some really clever ones in there. Thanks for letting me speak.
This is an example where I think our friend Nate was asking me about it. So this is an amazing back of the card branding. It's a $1.7 million listing. It's big fat J McHugh right there in the center. It's all my contact information that people are not going to throw it away. Now that you asked that question, I wanted to give you another tip that I brought. That, this little tool right here, folks, this thing cost me over $1,000 4 years ago. They've come down in price to about $300. You can probably find them for $1.50. It's a stabilizer, right? Makes you look like a Hollywood movie producer. You can take great screenshots after you've produced it, which you can, what our friend Susan just mentioned, push them into some social interaction distancing cards. And if you can't afford that little puppy, then I strongly recommend this little puppy. Again, it's a less of a stabilizer, less controls, but for less than $50, it makes your videos more professional. And little tools like this have amped up my world in turning an average presentation into a wow presentation. And again, these are things that, these webinars are bringing to light. I'll just go over 3 of them that come to my head. The stabilizer, the back of the card branding, as well as the beauty sheets, the webinar I was on yesterday. You think everybody knows this stuff, right? You think everybody should know this stuff, but we're all busy with something else. And therefore, don't be afraid to be the conduit that opens this up to somebody and opens it up in terms of sharing with somebody. Because again, they'll be indebted to you. We've got a good 6 minutes left. Anybody else like to say something? We got John, we got Jack, we got Joan who just joined us. Glenn, what do you have to say? I'm picking on Glenn right now because he's right underneath my green light.
I knew if I got under that green light, I'd be in trouble. So, I'm just ramping things up here, building the pipeline, trying to send out as many cards as I possibly can. I'm glad to hear there's new technology coming out, because coming from the marketing world I struggle with the creative. I can't get the cards to do the things I want them to do. So I'm hoping that's part of it, because I'm used to using the PowerPoints and the publishers and, the graphic design things and all that. And the other thing I have trouble with is getting all my contacts in there. Right now it's a manual process, but we're getting there. I'm getting the addresses, I'm getting it done. And I'm looking forward to having the COVID-19 done with. I really think the real estate market's going to absolutely explode once the president says, okay, it's all gone. I think the whole economy is going to explode.
So
Can't wait.
That's great. I'm going to touch on that. Appreciate that. It's going to segue into something I'm going to share with you right now, which has nothing to do with send out cards and doesn't have anything to do with Grant Cardone per se. But when that deluge happens, right, are you prepared? Are you prepared to have buyer agency contracts to be signed and look at them and say, if you're not going to sign this, it's not my best interest to pretend that I'm working with you, and then you're going to run off with another broker where I don't pick up my phone. It's yay and nay. If you think about it, it's a great time that if the deluge happens and you are cognizant in your verbiage to say, this is what's done, this is how it's done, you get more, okay, fine. And I'll give you a small example. That denim listing, 5 times plus one more call. Yeah, we're thinking of we're thinking about going with you, Jay, but we have, 7 decision makers. Brian, here's the contract. I'm sending it over to you now. Sign it. Thank you. But there's one more thing. Just sign it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, Brian. Yeah, you're right, Jay. Got the thing signed. Could I have done that 2 years ago or 20 years ago? Absolutely not. I would have waited. Hey, Jay, we sold it to a family member. Oh, that's great. You know why? Because I didn't ask. I didn't show my value enough. I learned from my friend Grant that this is a business. This is a football contact sport. We get paid for a result. Second place pays the same as 16th place. All the appreciation that we're doing increases our chances of having a successful transaction. However, it does not minimize, it doesn't exclude, it doesn't call favorites if you can't close the person in front of you. And that's when you get to that point, you send over the contract. I never used to use dot loop until our friend Dan the Man Capra said, Jay, you're foolish. You got to learn this thing. I still don't know it as well as him, but I know to say, hey, Brian, here's the deal. I'm up in New Hampshire, Cove Virus, 6 feet to 86 miles. He's down in Pembroke, Massachusetts. Brian, I just sent you over the contract. What do you mean? We have to meet? Not anymore, Brian. Our technology is second to none here at Lair Realty Partners. I sent it over. He signed just the lead paint. The next day, he signed just the mandatory agency disclosure. I didn't call him. Yesterday, he signed the full listing agreement. 2 minutes, I had a coming soon listing on Zillow. I sent it to him to let him know, Brian, I'm on top of this. Dan, go. You got 2 minutes.
I got to add, because like you said, dot loop's amazing. I had the same problem. All the clients, the 2 family I just signed, one at a time. What you could do is when you go into dot loop, you have the option to reshare it. So instead of bugging them, hey, did you get this? Did you get this? Did you get this? You just click reshare. You get it. And now everything's signed.
Yep, that's cool. Nate has a quick question. Let me try to answer it. What site do you guys go for pictures, cartoons, characters? The easiest thing is called Facebook, right? After Facebook, you go to Google and put in images. Then from there, you can go to different apps that we're using. Ocean has created some different apps that will make a caricature of a 50-year-old guy that's been screaming at people with bald head and glasses, and it makes a cartoon of me. And if you're not humble, people are going to run from you. You got to make fun of yourself first, and then they're attracted to you, knowing that you're a human being. So great question, Nate. I'll send you a couple of emails of the ones that I'm using because ultimately they're fantastic. Hey, this has been great. I'm going to record it and get it out to everybody. I know we got about 30 seconds. So before they cut us off, I'm going to say thanks very much, guys. Awesome stuff. Watch for more. Private message me if you have any questions. Go out and crush it. Make sure you wash your hands. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.